Okay, welcome to Access All Areas. This is candid conversations about disability. And so my name is Fiona. I'm from Melbourne, Australia. And my guest today is...
Hi, I'm Shelby Perry, and the creator and founder of Adhesive on Instagram, where I share stories of individuals that have been impacted by visual impairment in either one or both eyes. And Fiona and I have connected on Instagram, and I'm very honored and glad to be here today to kind of share some of my story.
Thank you. It's lovely to have you. And my first question for you is, what do you think is the best thing about your disability or medical condition?
The best thing for me, so my accident, I was in a snowboarding accident February 28th, 2021, so just a little over a year ago. And the damage that resulted in that accident resulted in the removal of my right eye. And so I was 30 years old, living this quote unquote very normal life, no medical conditions, no disabilities. And then, the next day I'm having, my eye removed, and the uncertainty and confusion and fear, around what my life would be like and how it would go from there was a lot. And the number one, best thing that's happened to me over this last year is just this change of perspective. So I've just have this newfound purpose and perspective of how to overcome different challenges and obstacles and how to ask for help. It's been, that's a challenging thing in itself. And I've really learned how to lean into my support group and my friends and family, and how to be of service to others that are going through similar things, so that others don't have to feel alone. So my, best thing, I guess, about my disability or condition was the change of perspective and mindset that it's given me over the last year.
Yeah, that's really cool. And it's interesting because it is all about perspective, and we don't realize until something happens that it is time to pivot and change. And just a little sneaky extra question. Obviously, a lot of this has happened during the COVID pandemic. So how has that, do you think, affected the whole situation?
Yeah, luckily it was kind of at the tail end of, the major COVID part for us here, at least. But I guess just, it was kind of felt like one thing after another, because we had just barely started, getting a little bit of normalcy from out of COVID. Stuff was getting better, and then this happened. And there were a lot of instances where my family or friends couldn't come with me to different doctor's appointments or surgeries. So that was challenging. But since I've started Adhesive and sharing other stories, I've actually had some other community members where they've been, in an accident or injury, right at the midst of COVID. So I am grateful that at least mine was, a good 10 months from the beginning when things really started. So luckily things had calmed down a little bit by the time my accident happened. So it didn't affect it too much, other than just the overall stress of the situation after a stressful situation we just had. So
yeah, exactly. Definitely testing the resilience there a little bit.
yes.
Yeah. So what do you think would be the worst thing about your disability or medical condition?
The worst thing, I guess just the fears that come with it. I, try not to let those fears hold me back, but I definitely have, a lot of fears about protecting my good eye, or the what ifs, or kind of why did this happen? And, so having to work through that and process the trauma, and, come out onto the other side, which, wasn't, I'm in a good place now, but it wasn't like that for the first 6 months. I couldn't drive. I couldn't do a lot of things that I was doing prior. And so, I felt myself at times wanting to just give up, or, not, having a lot of self-doubt and fear. And so Um, I guess I think that's what gave me like that shift of perspective and mindset, which I'm grateful for, but also like having to just like go through that trauma and go through that, phase was really hard. And then,
Mm.
there's a lot of doctor's appointments. Like I've had so many for the eye area and then quite a bit to get a prosthetic eye made. And I just like don't love going to the doctors. So probably that. And then, so it's kind of a combination of like some little things, but nothing that, you know, I want to stop me from like moving forward. And
Mm.
I think just like that fear, of like living and, almost feeling, I guess, invincible my whole life, because like nothing bad had happened. And then like having an incident like this happen and just realizing that like, I'm not invincible and I need to like, protect myself. And at any age, like anything like could happen. And that wasn't even on my mind. Like I was like, oh, nothing, like that
Mm.
could happen to me. I never thought about like an eye injury or losing an eye, ever. Like maybe a broken bone, because I'd broken my arm and stuff before, but having something is, like in my eye, I just never, thought that that would like occur at just some point in my life later on in adulthood. So just
Mm.
like having that realization can be a little challenging at times.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And what was it, do you think, that helped you pivot from that place where you were sort of, in that spot where you were really challenged to the point where you realized that, you were strong and that you could take those challenges on? Was there something or a point in time that actually really triggered that change of thinking?
It's a great question. Yeah, so it's like I said, I was pretty yeah, that like first 6 months from the time that the accident happened. And then they didn't end up removing the eye until 2 months after the accident. So it was like kind of a longer process. And I'd say it was about like 6 months. And I spent a lot of that time like in bed, just trying to heal from the injury itself. And I do remember, like it would kind of come in waves where I'd get this like little, bits of hope and like inspiration. And then the next day or just later that day I'd be really down again. So I think it was just like, recognizing that and like just feeling those emotions and allowing them to be like what they were.
Mm.
So I don't remember like one specific like moment, but it was, I don't know, somewhere in that 6 months, yeah, I was like laying in bed and I was just like thinking, and I'm just so grateful because I have a very close support system of friends, and they were, at my door with, all the treats and yeah, food and helping me and driving me around. And I, even though, they don't have like one eye or gone through something like this, they were just like really supportive. And I just wanted to like be able to like give that back. And for other people that were going through, similar things.
Mm.
And I just got the idea for like Adhesive to kind of see what was out there and where I could be of service. So as soon as, I kind of had that idea and started to put together that Instagram page, things, really started to take off because I started to make these like connections with people that had been in other like accidents or incidences or cancer, and lost, vision in one or both eyes. And so I really, I guess, comes down to just like community and connection. So like I had that foundation for my own community that like kept me, afloat. And now that I'm like able to like build that and give back to this new
Mm.
community, um, is what keeps me moving forward.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. The two things that really came up in that is the support networks, and the fact that
Hmm.
you had such a good support network, and that often
Hmm.
when we go through these situations, the outside support is what gets us through what's going on for our inside, because essentially
Hmm.
it's a grieving process. And we've
Yes.
all grieved after a loss of a loved one. The loss of some kind of aspect of your life is exactly the same process. It's sort of you go through those stages of anger and acceptance, and it's really, really interesting.
Hmm.
And so the
Yeah.
last question I have is, what do you wish that other people that aren't in the disability community knew about your condition or understood about people who have had some kind of, situation similar to yours?
Yeah, that's a really great question. That was like kind of the hardest one when um, there's, I guess it's just important, everybody processes things differently. And, especially, so I'm coming from a place where, and I meet and connect with a lot of people online that, were in some sort of like car accident or some like almost freak accident where they, lost one of their eyes. And I can just tell there's like a wide range of healing and how they like work through things and different measurements of abilities afterwards. And I get a lot of people from the outside in my community, they're either like, like you're handling it so well, or if this happened to me, it's just like, but it's really, I think, unless you're in that position and going through it, you're not going to know. And not that I like take offense to like anyone that like maybe makes remarks about how I'm handling it or the things that I'm doing. But I just think, it's a good reminder for myself too. Like, unless you're in someone's shoes in that identical position, it would be a really hard, statement to be like, well, I would do this, or I'd feel like this, or this would be really hard for me. And yeah, you can definitely think those things, but unless you're in that position, there would just be no way to really experience it. Um, so I guess, just being mindful of like, everyone's disability or conditions or things that have occurred in their life is going to be different, and everyone's going to have their own path and how they heal and recover and how long it takes and what that looks like. And so just being really patient with each and every person and supportive and loving, I guess is kind of what I get from my own situation.
And, that's important for us all to remember that, casting judgments on other people based upon our own experiences is always a little dangerous because, like you said, what happens for one person may be turned completely different for somebody else, even if it is the same scenario. I mean, we've all been to, like a party or something, and one person walks away and goes, "That was the best ever." And somebody else is
Yeah.
like, "Oh my gosh, that was terrible." Or, different opinions after you've been to the movies, or, we all have different opinions, even on the same situation. So when it's about somebody else's life, very, very interesting, like you said, just treat people with love and respect and kindness rather than thinking that all of the answers, because often we only learn the answers by actually listening to other people's experiences.
Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Hmm. And so just to finish up, shameless plug, tell me more about Adhesive.
Okay. Well, thanks for asking. So Adhesive, like I kind of mentioned at the beginning, I just started on Instagram, and now it has a Facebook. I do some stuff on TikTok. I have a website as well. And I share a forum for anyone that has been impacted by visual impairment from any kind of condition or cause in one or both eyes. And it just kind of asks a variety of questions. So I post all of the questions in blog form with their pictures, and then we share it across the social media platform. So it just brings more awareness to lots of different situations. And then within this community, each other or one another can connect with each other and share experience or processes on how they went through similar things or getting a prosthetic eye. And I write my own blogs too on my own experience. So right now it's just really community based. I'm providing, trying to tap into some more resources to provide to help people find the right ocularists, which are the ones that make the prosthetic eyes. And we're also doing a virtual event here in October. And so it's kind of for this one-eyed, visual impairment community. And we'll have about 6 speakers speaking. There'll be one ophthalmologist, 2 ocularists, and then 3 speakers within the community that are visually impaired. And
Shelby Berry has left the meeting.
Oh,
Shelby Berry has joined the meeting.
I don't know what happened.
Yeah, that's all right.
That's okay. I don't just, did you press anything? It just ended.
No, it just dropped.
Oh,
That's really weird.
oh, weird. Sorry.
It's okay.
And we'll have lots of topics as far as like overcoming bullying, self-love, the process of a prosthetic eye, just building community connection, getting some inspiration, pursuing goals, even despite, those challenges. So we're really looking forward to that virtual event in October. And, hopefully the community will just continue to grow, and then we can provide some products as well for the community. So we're just like starting out, but it's been really inspiring to meet with a lot of these people through Instagram and social media, and just build this network.
Sounds really exciting. So I encourage anybody who is on my page, who I will be sharing this with as well, to go across and join Adhesive and, participate with Shelby in her journey as well. Always great to connect with other people who are in the disability community, and we all have a shared story to tell. And I think, the more that we can learn from each other and the more we can bond together, the more then we can help to change those things in society that we think need to be changed. Because if we, I guess, look at it from a united front, then the power is, going to come from all of us to make those changes in the community that need to be made. And, having that connection and support along the way is really important. So thank you so much for sharing this with me today.
Thank you.
And good luck with your future, and we'll definitely stay in contact and see how it all goes.
Perfect. Thank you so much for having me. It was, great to meet and connect and be here today.
Thank you.